Welcome to the Cobb We Trust podcast, and today I have the express pleasure of interviewing the next mayor of Marietta, Mr. Sam Foster. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
You've been running now for a couple months.
About 2 months, yeah.
Tell me, how's it been?
It has been awesome to see how much support we've been getting from people of all age ranges, people from different backgrounds in Marietta. I was shocked, frankly, to see how many people want to see a candidate with the vision that our campaign has.
And not to brag, but you should. Coming from no money raised, you've raised almost $20,000.
Yep.
You've knocked on over 1,000 doors. How many doors at this point?
Over 1,000 doors, probably 1,200, probably.
So 1,200 doors. You've had a phenomenal campaign video that our team launched. And you were just on 11 Alive News. What was that like?
Man, it was really like old versus new. You know, we go to the Kroger parking lot shut down, and it's the mayor's fault. And we're standing there. They're like, "What's your vision for the city?" And I'm explaining, I'm presenting a vision for the city that's going to take us into the future, make a Marietta that works for everybody. And the mayor's over here supporting vacant lots instead of housing in the city. So I think the 11 Alive was like a watershed moment. It's like, now people are seeing the vision in a wider audience, and now we're getting like media attention, and it was like a moment.
Yeah, it was a wonderful interview. Yeah. And your platform, 3 things, right?
Reducing the cost of living, safe streets for cyclists and pedestrians, and less traffic.
Like, how can anybody hate on that? I mean, the mayor is quoted in the Marietta Daily Journal saying, "If you make it too affordable," which I thought was quizzical at best and downright maniacal at worst, in the sense that he doesn't care about a certain segment of Marietta. He just doesn't care.
I think it also speaks to the fact that when you get to that, level of wealth, or when you get to a point where you are so detached from the average experience of, working people in Marietta, you genuinely believe that there is a subset of people that you don't want to be welcome in the city. And your idea of that is to actively try to push them out. And I think that's unacceptable.
And not only after you actively try to push them out, there's been a relative moratorium on multifamily housing apartments, buildings in Marietta, which is why it is sleepy, right? And like, if the residents of Cobb County would not describe Marietta as a happening place, even though we have a wonderful square, we have a tier 1 trauma center hospital system, we have KSU, we have all these, we have the mountain and the trail. We have great parks on certain sides of town. And it's just like, okay, why doesn't the mayor not see that he's holding Marietta back?
I think in a sense, there's a general understanding that Marietta can be doing better. You look at the comprehensive plan, the Livable Centers Initiative studies, the various bike and pedestrian studies we did for Cobb County and Marietta, the trail connectivity plan that we did in 2019. You get resident feedback and you see that the plans that they're proposing, and we understand we can do better. But when we are presenting these new ideas to the current mayor and council, they consistently have problems with it and nitpick it, or they outright deny it. They reject the idea of positive change. The mayor we had, the mayor was there when we had the Bridger Properties apartment proposed downtown. However you feel about it, I know it was controversial, but it was zoned properly. The only question was what the building would look like. And he goes through this process of saying they did more damage to the square than William Sherman.
Which is just such nonsense. And, you can expect nothing less from mumbling, bumbling, tumbling, right? Like,
I didn't say that.
My nickname for him, because you can't understand him, number one. He is bumbling half the time, and his name's Tumbling. So there you go. But yeah, talk to me a little bit more about the comprehensive plan. I don't think people know in Marietta, like, we have a plan for this city.
So the comprehensive plan is like this planning document that all cities in Georgia do to basically determine where they're going to go into the future. So it's going to talk about the concerns of residents, where the city thinks we can improve, and our vision for the future. Marietta did their comprehensive plan update in 2022. And there are multiple things in there talking about reducing vehicular traffic, affordable housing, mixed use developments, all things that the mayor is not in favor of. So we do these studies, we spend money and time doing these studies, and they don't actually believe in them for whatever reason. I wonder why.
One of it, isn't there supposed to be a central business district, like where the square is, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you were just going to look at that in terms of mixed use, like we have the example of Emerson Overlook, and you did a video of that, which was wonderful. But it's law offices on the bottom and condos on top. And it is the most valuable piece of property per acre in all of Marietta.
Yep.
And why don't we have more of those?
We view housing as a risk. We view housing as something that if you have too much of it, there's going to be chaos. So when we say we're going to have more, we need more housing, they're like, hold on, wait a minute. What do you mean by that? Are you trying to bring crime into the city? Are you trying to, create a slum? No one's trying to do that. Residents want housing options downtown so they can live close to the things that they want to be at. Mm-hmm. It's called convenience. It's not called density. It's called convenience. When you are able to wake up in the morning and walk down to Cool Beans, when you're able to wake up in the morning and walk down to the law office, that's directly below your house. These are convenient options that we are depriving people of because we refuse to give people what they're asking for in the comprehensive plan. Scroll down to the bottom, I'm not lying, and actually build the housing downtown where people already want to be. And that also has an impact on traffic because now you're thinking about all of these people around Marietta have to get to down the central business district to go to work. They're driving from Paulding County. They're driving from Forsyth County. They're coming from Cherokee. They're coming from West Marietta.
It's almost everywhere but here.
Exactly. And, because we have this idea that the square is like Disneyland or something, we're like, this is trapped in amber. If you try to change this, you're trying to change Marietta, and we don't like that. And I think that's unacceptable.
And there's a number, I think you guys did a study with the Better Cobb that, what is there, like 30 acres?
30 acres.
Of parking lots?
Of the developable land within a quarter of a mile radius of the central business district, yeah.
Why couldn't we build mixed use that was retail on the bottom, apartments on top, and, even decrease maybe the minimum size of apartments to be able to build more affordable places? Like, it just seems like we could be doing more.
And that also, you didn't mention this, but then the second question then becomes, because people worry when you talk about parking, the second question then becomes, well, we already don't have enough parking at the square. What are we going to do about it? No, we do. There's over 4,000 spaces of parking at the square. A lot of that's in the parking decks. A lot of that is on-street parking. A lot of that is lots. We don't have the adequate signage over at the square. We don't have adequate wayfinding. We did a walking tour, I believe this year, and we went down to those parking decks, and they're, half the people there were like, I didn't even know this was here. No signage. People are like, oh, I can't park. What if we utilize those parking decks more? And then we said to people, okay, you're not going to get to park immediately in front of where you're going to go, but now we get a grocery store. Now you have more housing. Now you get that cool business that you want to have downtown, like, for example, a Jenny's or
a bike shop,
or you get a park. They tore up a parking lot on the Mountain River Trail. They turned it into a park. And these are the types of things that we get. It's a cost benefit analysis. There's always a give and take when you do these things. When you do infill development, it's an opportunity cost because, you get rid of that parking, sure. But at the same time, now we have cool stuff. I want more cool stuff in Marietta.
And not just to be a sleepy place where you just go. It's dead a lot of the times. Not all the time, but there's so much potential. And, you talk about making the streets safer and you talk about decreasing traffic because some people will look at it and say, well, you're bringing more people here. There's going to be more people, driving in. And it's like, they're driving here. We want for people to live, work, and play here, but they're so resistant to change.
It's weird, right? Because you don't build a train track and say, man, I want less trains on this train track. You don't build a sidewalk and be like, man, I want less people walking here. But whenever it's traffic, whenever it's car lanes, it's doing what it is designed to do. Traffic is something that is generated by more car infrastructure. So when we have that traffic, more people coming to the square, if you're building for that type of transportation, that is what you're going to get. That is what you want. That's the end result. You're never going to add enough lanes to decrease congestion. You're never going to add enough parking spaces to, do this or that. it really has to be a holistic approach where you're looking at investing in alternatives. So we were talking about making things more convenient, putting things closer together. Now you can feasibly make a trip just walking somewhere. You could take your bike. We talk about transit. I know that's a little bit touchy in Cobb County after we got our butts whipped last year, but
got to call it strike a strike.
But, when we're talking about tweaking the frequency of the buses, so you have buses running down South Marietta Parkway, running down Powder Spring Street, coming every 30 minutes. Bus comes down Cherokee and Church Street every hour on Sundays and Saturdays. Who's going to take that? I'm not taking it. I'd rather bike all the way to Kennesaw than take that. And I have done it multiple times. Mm-hmm. We have to invest in alternatives, and we have to understand that we cannot keep going down this path of cars only, because it's never going to get us the results that we want. We can only be more successful when we invest in more efficient means of transportation.
And when you take this message
Mm-hmm.
to the doors that you're knocking on, what's the reception?
People are very receptive to the idea of a politician, the idea of somebody running for office. We'll say that, speaking to everyday issues that they care about. You go and look at the mayor's platform. What is he talking about? Franklin Gateway. What he's like, that's my proudest achievement. Really, destroying 1.3 thousand affordable homes is your greatest achievement. Okay. When I'm talking about bringing down the cost of housing, mentioning that we're pricing out seniors, we're pricing out students, and those students belong to families who still live in Marietta. When they graduate, where are they going to live? Talking about safe streets for cyclists and pedestrians. I am out knocking doors in these, suburban areas with these single family homes. People are telling me like, yeah, we my kids play in the front yard. They're scared to walk. I'm scared to leave them alone because, we're scared they're going to get hit by a car. The cars speed down our street. We want more traffic calming.
And before you go on, I think that's it's really important. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but one of the times that I can't ever get out of my head in the hospital is when I was working in the trauma ICU, and there was a 14-year-old that got hit and run, and I had to talk to his mom. And, your message has so much applicability to different age groups, right? For especially the safety, our kids, trying to make it safer for our kids, which directly impacts like people in my age group, which are parents that just want safe streets for our parents. And you talk about affordability for people who are renting, and that is every single age group. Can you talk, and I know I interrupted you, but can you talk a little bit about what does your platform mean for seniors specifically?
The tagline that we organically came up with after trying to determine what it would be for a while is Marietta for everyone. It's not just a campaign slogan. I promise. We want to build a Marietta that works for all different age groups. So when we're talking about seniors, a lot of the things that seniors struggle with is being priced out of their housing because, a lot of them aren't fixed incomes. So that housing piece, especially if you don't have, if you're not able to live in a single family home, you're renting or in a senior home, that affects you. The proximity of the different places you want to go to affects you because maybe you can't drive anymore. Now somebody has to be your chauffeur, driving you down to the grocery store, et cetera, et cetera. When we design society to work for everybody, that includes people who are older, people who are younger. And oftentimes when we make transportation more convenient, when we make it more easier to get places because things aren't so far apart, it lifts up everybody. Rising tides raise all ships. So for seniors specifically, a lot of the concerns when it comes to, what I just mentioned, I think it's really powerful for them because nobody is speaking to them outside of the idea of I'm going to lower your taxes or I'm going to keep the school board homestead exemption, which I'm not trying to change. It's not just about taxes. We actually have to address it from they're also struggling with housing costs. Streets are also not safe for seniors, and they don't have adequate transportation options because a lot of them can't drive. So I think that's how the platform resonates for seniors.
And I think one thing that we haven't mentioned is how you want to make the website easier for businesses to navigate. Because Marietta is not an easy place to do business. It really is not.
Mm. we really have to look at how to make these things more efficient, right? You know, when we talk about how they post the agendas on the website, or, you know, how we do our video streaming. Cobb County does streaming on YouTube. Why can't we? We don't live in an age anymore where we can afford to sit out on conversations. We have to be everywhere, attacking it at all angles, and we have to make things more convenient for people when they do have to come to us for a source of information. There's still studies on the Marietta website that, you know, there's been no follow-up, or you go there and you're like, where did this go? And now you got to go look up some minutes meeting packet to go find, you know, where something was voted on, or if, you know, go email this person to see how many projects on this study list have they been done? Like, what are they in the pipeline? What's going on? So I think
it's like this black hole of information.
Yeah, a black hole of information. I think that really speaks to transparency and streamlining processes when it comes to our website.
Now, you are a systems engineer. What is that? Because I don't know.
You know, yeah, my official title is DevOps engineer, but we're just going to say systems engineer. It's hilarious, you know, in the field, there's a lot of debate on what exactly that means. But to explain it broadly, I look at systems.
Like computer systems.
Okay. And I determine how to make them more efficient. Is this serving the needs of the business? Is this allowing developers to do their job correctly? Is there something we could tweak here to get down those load times when you're going to a website? Building out infrastructure behind the scenes. It's really systems, looking at things from a systemic level and trying to see how you can make things work together in unison to be more effective for the business.
So is it fair to say that you have to look at, let's say, a system or a problem, understand it from a variety of different points of view, understand what the goals are of each stakeholder, and then figure out a way to satisfy the goals of each stakeholder in the most efficient manner?
Yep. You know, just this week, my boss, he was like, you know, if you review this product and then compare it to what we're using right now, you know, do a demo, talk about the pros and cons, and then we're going to see what path we go forward. And just that little piece connects to another team who's then doing something that is going out to people in their homes, on their couches, you know, talking about watching TV. You know, it really is a job where you are looking at systems, making things more efficient, and comparing and contrasting things, determining what options you have.
It seems like that's, you know, a perfect segue into being a mayor. When you have to figure out problems within different parts of the city, multiple different stakeholders, identify goals, and try to come up with a better way to go forward. It's not like it's just a CPA lawyer.
What a coincidence.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Well, that, you know, speaking to the experience element, people, rightfully so, people have concerns about like my age, you know, what experience I've had. We just talked about my job, and there is nothing that you can do, whether you have been elected official or not, or you have whatever experience, to prepare you for a specific role that you're going to do that's going to have specific challenges. Did Tumlin preside over a pandemic before 2020? No. But like, how do you deal with that? How do you understand? It's really, in those moments, having great people around you who are going to advise you on what those next steps are and what's going to be best for the city. That's why we have the city manager, we have our various city staff, we have the other council members. You know, during meetings, I never see, I never go throughout one city council meeting without them calling up somebody from the staff and saying, hey, let me ask you a question. Then they say, hey, Doug, city attorney, what's going on with this? Like, is this legal? Nobody knows everything. And saying that does not mean that you should just put somebody in there who knows nothing. I have the knowledge, I know how the system works, and I'm willing to work with others and come to compromises to get the results that we need. But it's not the end all be all that you've never held elected office or you don't have the experience, because the job is specific and unique for every different office holder.
And people who say that, I think they don't really realize who founded this country was a bunch of 20 and 30-year-olds. And Alexander Hamilton at the start of the American Revolution was 21. So all these people that may question your age, rightfully so. I think the first time you told me, I was like, hold up.
You were like, wait, hold up.
Like, hold up. But I got to know you. I got to know you as somebody who's very thoughtful, who's very serious, that is cool, calm, and collected, even when things seem to be really chaotic around him. I find you to be someone that doesn't make the same mistake twice, that is consistently improving each time we have a meeting or we have to go forward. And so for those out there that might think, yeah, I don't know about a 24-year-old mayor, but I say that you represent the breath of fresh air everyone is looking for, because we are tired of this country being run by boomers. We're over it. Why? And you can take this however you want, but I know what I'm going to say about it. A 78-year-old man that has already served for 4 terms, 16 years. There's, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a 3-term term limit that he voted for or is supportive of back in, I believe, 2017.
Roundabouts, yeah.
And right now he's saying he's grandfathered in. I think that is the term. Yeah. That is the bullshit excuse. That term limits don't apply to somebody who has already been in office, but that's what a fucking term limit is. Like, I don't it's asinine, to use Chris Ragsdale word. But why do you think he's doing it?
So speaking to the term limits conversation, I do think, I think that's ridiculous. You know, whether or not it's legal, and it is legal, you are saying that you want term limits because you want new people in office. You want to make sure that the gears are oiled up, you know, things are going into the future. And then you yourself, as your buddies are all stepping down, whether they've been term limited or not, you yourself are then staying in office when clearly he does not have the tools available to deal with the new challenges that we're facing. When an apartment building comes downtown, you know, somebody proposes something, we have a new developer, you can't just say they're William Sherman. You can't just do that. Like, that's not productive. That doesn't help anybody. We're not having a vision for the future. We're trying to preserve the past in a way that's hurting the city. And then speaking to why do I think he's doing this? I think he's doing this for the same reason that I think a lot of people do this, federal, state. I think he has this idea of what Marietta is that doesn't exist anymore and hasn't existed for a long time. When I think of Marietta, I think of a beautiful place where I went to college, a beautiful place where, now I am having all of these interactions with new friends that I've formed through my founding of a better Cobb, my help founding a better Cobb. And I look at a place of beauty. I think of new opportunities. I think he sees Marietta as a city that's under attack from the future. And I think he, especially with...
Well, that's interesting. That's a very interesting... Sorry, I didn't... That's like kudos to that phrasing. Yeah. That he thinks it's under attack from the future. Interesting.
And especially with me stepping in the race, I'm 24. He's like, if that guy wins, my idea of Marietta will die. And I don't believe that, because I'm also fighting for him. I'm fighting for the life of everyone. You know, when we talk about at the federal level, I want this policy. It's like, oh, what about that crazy person who's an extremist? Like, well, I don't like him, but my policies are going to benefit them too. So I think he truly believes that we are at a moment, a turning point, where if he isn't the guardian for the city, it's going to be destroyed. And his idea of what the city is will die. And I think he's wrong, but hey, go for it.
And we're banking on turning out voters.
Yep.
We're banking on people who are fed up with this system, who feel as though they have no power, especially with the national news, to make a difference on their local level. But like, that's where a lot of the power is locally. And we're trying to get that message across. What do you say to people who think that they don't have a voice?
There is a councilwoman, we'll say her name. She won by...
Is she from Ward 1? You mean Cheryl Richardson?
I don't know, boss. She won by like a very small margin. What is it? Tens of votes. You think of, what if I got 30 friends to hop off the couch, come vote in Ward 1? What would happen? People will be treated with a lot more respect. Exactly. In 2021, when the mayor was running last time, 8% turnout over on the east side, where people are hurting the most. No parks, limited access to grocery stores, unsafe bike and pedestrian infrastructure. And we could have had an opportunity to address those things in a more visionary way. But the people who that would benefit the most, they're not turning out. Your one vote is never going to, well, on the local level it might, but let's just say for the sake of being poetic, your one vote is never going to turn the tide. But your one vote has so much more of an impact at the local level simply because there are so many people who are deciding this is not important enough, or they just don't know about it. And they're deciding I'm not going to show up, or they're just not showing up because they don't know about it. When we talk about the local powers that we have power over our streets, which means we have power over what transportation we can run in our roads and how that's funded. We have power over what you can build in the city. So if you're like, man, why is there not a skate park? That's why. If you're like, man, why isn't there more mixed use? That is why.
Or a grocery store.
Why isn't there a grocery store downtown? That is why. All of the powers that we have at the local level, it's not like we can, do free healthcare or something, but we can meaningfully improve people's quality of life and run our own services if we have the revenue to do so. So I'd say it is very in the weeds, very nerdy, I guess you would say, but it has such a big impact. And once you understand that you have so much power to change your community around you if you have the desire to take it from the hands of power.
And people will talk about homelessness as an issue in the city. If you go down Bell's Ferry, different parts of the city, I take care of them when they come in the hospital. And I ask them where they live, and they say in the woods. And rightfully, people are concerned. Where does the mayor, where does city council, what is their role?
I think we have to, I think right now we're relying too much on the stick instead of the carrot in terms of dealing with the homelessness situation that we have, which is really a crisis, not only in Marietta, but across the entire country, in the Metro Atlanta region as well.
And I would argue it's a symptom of wealth inequality and mental health disparity.
Yep.
But go ahead.
I definitely agree with you. So when we're talking about it from that perspective, then we get to what causes homelessness. And I think when you can separate people into two different groups, people who are dealing with chronic homelessness, and then people who are dealing with, they're just got on the street, or they're living out of their car, they're living in a motel. When you get to people who are dealing with more chronic homelessness, you deal with mental health issues, drug addiction, you deal with, lack of financial support, obviously. And those three factors can make it so hard, even if you have the resources, to then go and say to somebody, we're going to give you a bed. They're like, nah, I'm not going in there.
Yeah.
And
you can even give people, but they don't want to go in there.
Exactly.
There's a certain amount of freedom that comes along.
And even then, there's a carrot that we can give them to then incentivize them to get better. Because instead of, like the mayor and the council were proposing, thankfully did not pass, to throw people in jail and then escalate fines every time they go back in jail.
It's so idiotic.
Yeah. You think of it from a perspective of, well, let's start, working with different homeless charities. What if it wasn't just Musk Ministries? What if, we had more outreach? What if we had enough outreach to the point where we're not just keeping people on the edge? We're taking them, we're pulling them back from the edge. We're actually rehabilitating them. So we need rehabilitation for people who are struggling with mental illness and drug addiction. You talk about short-term, people who are just out in the streets. And there's some mix of this people who are chronically homeless, but you got to think about how can we make housing more affordable? Because these people have jobs. These people legitimately have jobs, and they cannot find housing that they can afford. People living out in the woods, or people living out in their car. The MDJ did a great series on homelessness recently. And there are people that are interviewing like, yeah, I work a job. I walk there every day. It's an hour walk, and, I don't make enough, but, we're getting there. And it's like, what? Excuse me? You have a job and you can't afford to live in Marietta? How is that a scenario that we find acceptable? Or are we scared we're going to make the city too affordable? So we need to make housing more affordable. And how I plan to do that is by providing incentives for developers to actually make a certain amount of units affordable. And what that would look like is, let's say that there's a height cap in the Spencer Business District, because there is a height cap. What if we said, hey, I know you really want to make this building taller, but you have to make a certain amount of units affordable when you build that building. I think that would be a great thing. Also, community land trusts, where the community forms a nonprofit, and then you're able to they're able to buy up some land and keep it affordable in perpetuity. I think we have a lot of options when it comes to making housing more affordable that we're just not taking advantage of.
And with a few remaining questions, what does it mean to you personally to run for mayor? What does it mean to have so many people to the tune of $20,000 put their trust in you?
It's a humbling experience. When you're coming from the place I'm coming from, graduated college in 2022, came to Marietta, just bought a bike, and I'm like, man, this isn't safe. And then I joined up with a better Cobb, and we build that out. And seeing that grow and seeing people view me as a leader, it's been a very surreal and weird experience and very humbling. And the fact that people see the vision and they trust the vision and they trust me, it has been amazing. And I think it also speaks to people's desire for change, especially in this moment with what we have going on the federal level. People they don't just want change, they want positive change. And when somebody is offering them an idea of a city that is going to actually, get out there and address the concerns that they care about, I think that resonates with people in a way that makes them very, very excited.
Early voting starts
October 14th.
14th.
Yep.
13th, 14th.
14th. 1000%.
And election day is November 4th.
It is.
Second to last question. What do you say to people who watch this interview? They want to get involved. What do you need?
We are a grassroots campaign. A lot of our money has come from small dollar donors, and we are not backed by the establishment. So we need you to help us knock on doors. That is typically how a grassroots campaign is operated, how we get out the message about our campaign, how we talk to people and let them know my name. We have to physically go up to their door, knock on their door, and tell them what this campaign is about. So we need people to come out and canvass with us.
And you do it every
Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Thursday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yes. Okay. You can go on our website. There's a volunteer link, and then you can go to our Mobilize. And then we also need phone banking because there's certain people that we can't reach by going to their door. They don't answer, or it's inaccessible. So phone banking is also a great way to do direct voter contact. So those are the two main things that we need right now. And obviously, if you have the means, please donate. But those are the main things that we're looking at right now. And we're in a very strong position. We just have to build on that and get better, because there is no way that we're going to win this unless it's on the backs of working people who want a city to actually deliver results for them. If you feel excited when you hear me talk, take that excitement and go knock on somebody's door. Pick up the phone and call somebody. The more we spread this message, the more we tell people about Sam Foster, this campaign, the more they're going to be like, man, I can't wait for November 4th. I can't wait for October 14th. That is what we're going to have to do. Whatever you're feeling right now, the excitement that you're feeling, take that and volunteer or donate, please.
Last question. I ask everyone in the hospital this. What brings meaning in their life? What brings meaning to your life?
I think more than anything, I am a person who likes to give joy to others. No matter what situation I'm in, even if I'm hurting, I want to deliver results and allow people to be happy around me. So when we think about all the work we've done with a better cop, man, there's moments where I'm going to these border commission meetings. Even during this campaign, there's moments where I'm like,
yeah, it's rough. It's not easy.
It's not easy. But then you think about Franklin Gateway, what happened over there. I used to live over on Delk Road. The conditions over there. People who are homeless. Every day I used to drive off the interstate, seeing people hold up signs like, I'm a homeless veteran, or I need your help. And people at the square, they're begging for money. Or the fact that my housing costs are at a point where I've been saving up for a house for 5 years and I still can't afford one. I have friends that are like, I can't afford to live in Marietta. And that makes me want to step up in a position where I am at least being a stepping stone for this problem to be solved. Because if it's not me, then we got to pass it forward to the next person who's going to take that, and then they're going to fight for working people, because this country and the city is built on the backs of working people.
Sam Foster, whose opponent, mumbling, bumbling, tumbling, he's going to beat. November 4th, and become the first Black mayor of the city of Marietta. I wish you nothing but success. And to you all out there, this is how change happens. So if you want to see people like Sam in positions of power representing your interests, get off your couch and start knocking on some doors, make some phone calls, and donate some change our way, because we are not messing around. Marietta is going into the future. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Brian.